All right, let's give this a minute. Minute to warm up, see what's happening. Audio's good? Good. Let's get some people in here, man. Let's get rolling. Lot to cover. NFL free agent frenzy. Best available players left. Interesting group. Interesting group. Donnell Hunter. Wow. Some good players that are still available. YouTube Live back from my casa, which is Sukasa. Good to see everybody. Let's let the room fill up a bit. We just sent out the tweet. See if we can get some people in here. Either way, we do this live and then we cut up some of it and put it out on Reels. And, man, there's a lot to get into. I love this time of year. Wow, it might be the best time, literally, to be on the radio. This Monday of NFL free agency up till Wednesday is just awesome. Just unbelievable. Just love it. Love all the Christmas presents, NFL Christmas presents that come early, as hopefully your team did some stuff. Maybe they didn't do anything like the Dallas Cowboys and you're pretty pissed off, which we'll get into that too. And the ability to improve your team in March is a great aspect of the NFL. It's fantastic. It kicks the shit out of the NBA. Again, I love the NBA. I mean, I'm a diehard Knicks fan. I'm an NBA fan, and I'm not even thinking about it the next couple of days with NFL free agency. I'm sure a lot of people agree with me on that. When it comes to this and some of the moves that we're seeing here, the NFL just does an amazing job now kicking everyone's ass when they need to. And they're able to do that, and it's fantastic. So there are a lot of deals that could come down tomorrow, and I'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to wait another about minute or two, and then we'll get started here as we take a look at some of the free agents. And if there's any breaking news that's happening, if you see anything that you really like or something pops here in the next 20 minutes or so. Matter of fact, if you can put in your chat, what's the best website that you use to track NFL free agency? I got NFL.com and ESPN up here in front of me. I think they do the best job overall. NFL.com does a really good job. Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, guys I've been interviewing my entire career, really do a great job this time of year. But what do you look for as the best tracking system? And ESPN puts this up behind a live paywall, which I think is absolute bullshit, that you have to sit here and go to ESPN Plus to take a look at some of these deals here in the coverage, which is amazing, which makes it a little bit more difficult than when I see when they put something up behind a paywall, even though I'm in sports radio and I have all this, I have all the access to it, but I got an iPad here that doesn't have the access to it. Does it get you upset? Yeah, I follow everybody on Twitter, which I appreciate, but I'm talking following free agency. What's the best way you do that, and who do you follow the most? All right, let's get going here. And we'll get going here in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome to my live stream, JT the Brick from my house. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. And thanks for subscribing. We need everybody to hit subscribe, JT the Brick, YT, and do us a favor and kind of spread the word on this and get it out to everybody. Hit like and subscribe because that's the key to all of this. I don't mind talking and going on live streams at all, but we're trying to build something here. Not so much a business, but a radio show that we can have on nights like tonight, Tuesday night. I just got back from a nice trip. We do a better radio show at night than anybody, period. And that's fact, because I've been doing this close to 30 years, but I'm not on every night. And for those who say why, I can't be on, 5 nights a week on 2 different platforms. It's too much. It's too insane. And it's the off season right now. So what I want to do is I want to build up this YouTube live feed so we can go live like a radio show whenever we want. And we're starting to do that. And I'm really happy about the results I'm live streaming radio shows, and it's getting fun. But this week's been a pain in the ass because my old computer, which I've had for a while, and when I'm on a computer, I only use a computer for emails. I don't compute. I don't build code. I don't do a lot of shit on computers other than email. And then we started live streaming, and it took my old computer and it just took it to its knees. So my son, who's in the other room, is shopping around and we're buying another computer. If you got an idea for one that does live streaming better than the other ones, we'll probably consider doing that. So that's part of what we're doing going forward. And it's a good time to build up this platform in the offseason with the NFL before we go 6 days a week again. We are brought to you by Modelo, the fighting spirit of Modelo, the #1 beer in America, and proud partner not only of my radio show in Vegas, but of the podcast. I have a Modelo with me tonight, and I appreciate Modelo, our proud partner here, as we kick it off. All right, let's begin with NFL free agent frenzy and how your team did or what they did or what they should be doing. So throughout my career, I've talked to a lot of GMs and football operation people that always tell me the same exact thing, everywhere. It doesn't matter where they're from, that they don't want to do a lot of free agency because that's not the proper way to build the team. And they're right. The proper way to build an NFL team is through the draft and re-signing the players that you draft well and keeping those players and building a cohesive team with chemistry. And that's how you win a world championship. Look at Kansas City and the Chiefs. Just look at them and what they've done with Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, who was just re-signed, one of their players, the best defensive tackle. I wouldn't say of the modern era. I still think that Aaron Donald's better than Chris Jones, but it's getting hard to debate that the way he's playing with Kansas City. But back to my point, you want to build through the draft and re-sign your players, but players have the right to free agency, just like you have the right to free agency. As my partner Looney always says, if you work at Ben & Jerry's after 10 years and you want to go across the street to Haagen-Dazs, you can do that. Whatever you do, you're an accountant. Most jobs, you have the ability every day to be a free agent. Leave your job and go to another job. But the NFL doesn't work that way. Young players get drafted. They could be with their original team for 5 years if the team picks up the 5th-year option, and then they can start franchise tagging you. The good players normally get re-signed by their teams before their 5th-year option at a better price that's more cap-friendly. Then we get to free agency, where players finally become available. They can't come to terms with their team on a contract. So they are allowed to go into free agency if they don't get franchise tagged. And there's certain ways you can franchise tag, restrict franchise tag, unrestrict the franchise tag. Well, we're talking about the players tonight who have the ability to move teams, and many have. And they go quick. Most of the great players have been gone by Monday afternoon, Monday night. We're sitting here live Tuesday night, and a lot of players moved today. Several players moved today. And then tomorrow, the league year begins. So we're in this legal tampering phase where you can negotiate with the team on a contract for the future. But on Wednesday, it all becomes real, where you can literally sign these players to the contracts that you've agreed to the last couple of days. And I'm all for it because NFL free agency, the key is it's for the teams that aren't good. And the teams that aren't good usually pick high in the draft because you have to have some type of competitive balance. If you don't let the shitty teams, the bad teams, go out and have higher draft picks, then you're never going to have parity in the NFL, and that's what they want. Free agency also gives the teams that aren't good the ability to go out and break up their team and bring in new players, but that has a lot to do that they need some cap space. And you have to have cap space, and you have to handle the budget of your team correctly. And a lot of bad teams don't do that. Look at the Dallas Cowboys. 30-plus years they haven't won squat. They're not able to basically sign anybody. They don't keep Tony Pollard. Jerry Jones and his team just aren't locked in via the cap, and they're in trouble. The New Orleans Saints, historically, are always in trouble with the cap, and the Saints this time of year always have to redo contracts and give players signing bonus new money so they can get under the cap. Look at the Denver Broncos. Holy shit, what a mess the Broncos are. I'll get to the Donkeys in a moment. And then the LA Chargers. How do you think Jim Harbaugh feels looking at the mess of that roster and all the players that he has to let go if he wants to be able to go sign draft picks, let alone restock the team with younger players? So always remember the teams that do the most business usually are the worst teams when it comes to this, or some of the teams that are struggling the most. Case in point, the Washington Commanders. They have the most cap space. Daniel Snyder destroyed that franchise. So they're picking off and signing all these players, which is good for them. We want to see the Washington Commanders come back into this league and be powerful. They're under new ownership. They have new leadership with Magic Johnson, Bob Myers, formerly of the Golden State Warriors. So they have all this cap space and they're signing players. Where other teams are saying, no, we're good. We got a good team. We'll bring in a free agent or two, maybe two, and we'll get ready for the draft. And that's what I'm here to discuss tonight on how your team was able to do good. Did your team do anything right? Did your team get a player or two that can make you better? And I think a lot of teams were able to do that. But if you didn't do anything big this week, it's not the end of the world. There's a lot of teams. Look at Pittsburgh. It's a good jump-off spot for me with Russell Wilson. The Pittsburgh Steelers decided to sign Russell Wilson for $1.2 million because the Denver Broncos are going to pay over $38 million or close to $39 million because they put together a deal with Russell Wilson that absolutely imploded, arguably the worst contract in NFL history. Now, Russell Wilson is nowhere near one of the worst players in NFL history. He's not at a bust level like Tony Mandrich, Jamarcus Russell. I like Ryan Leaf. You want to put him at a level. He's not that player. Last year, he had a pretty good year with Denver, but it didn't work out. And we debated that and discussed it on this live stream. They ended up getting rid of Russell Wilson because Sean Payton didn't like him. It wasn't because Russell Wilson's injured. It wasn't because he's a bad quarterback. He wasn't playing at the level he played at when he won a Super Bowl. I get it. But he had a pretty good year. What was it? 26 touchdowns and only 8 interceptions. He had a pretty good quarterback rating. So Sean Payton marches into Denver and says, I don't want to be around Russell Wilson. I don't want him around. I don't like his energy. I don't like his chemistry. And he goes to new ownership and says, we're going to eat $235 million of this deal, and we're going to be in cap hell for the next 2 years. We don't have a quarterback, but I want to prove my point that I'm Sean Payton and I want him out of the building. Okay. If you don't like a player and you want to move on from him, I get it. Not when it's over $200 million, you give up a draft to go get him, and now you've imploded your football team. So why did Russell Wilson go to Pittsburgh? That's one of the things I want to talk about here in the chat as we open it up. If he's good enough to play for Pittsburgh, who's won 6 Super Bowls, he's good enough to play for your team if you need a quarterback. That's one of the main points I want to say. I'm not saying he's a good fit for everyone. I live in Vegas, and Raider fans are saying he's not a great Raider. That's bullshit. Jim Plunkett got the shit beat out of him in New England. In San Francisco, he was left for being done, finished, and Jim Plunkett won 2 Super Bowls and a Super Bowl MVP. Now, you don't have to compare Russell Wilson to Jim Plunkett like I did, but I'm using that as a point that Russell Wilson could fit anywhere. He's got a captain, a Walter Payton Man of the Year patch. He's played in 2 Super Bowls, won 1. If they just would have fucking handed off the ball to Marshawn Lynch at the goal line, he'd have 2. He's a future Hall of Famer, no debate. So the issue isn't, is Russell Wilson a good fit with the Raiders? Probably not. I don't know. Maybe you don't think his chemistry is great with the Giants. You don't like his chemistry with, let's throw out another team that needs a quarterback, Atlanta. That's the team. They ended up getting Kirk Cousins. But that doesn't answer my question. Why is he good enough to play for Pittsburgh as Pittsburgh's won 6 Super Bowls? I win that debate. If he's good enough to play for Mike Tomlin and the Rooney family, and they jumped on him before free agency even started, the legal tampering period, it's because the Steelers, one of the greatest organizations in North American sports, said, screw everybody else. We even have a first-round pick in Kenny Pickett. We want Russell Wilson for $1.2 million. So everybody who passed on that deal, everybody who's got Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew, go down the list of Drew Lock, all these other quarterbacks, you could have had Russell Wilson for nothing, and you chose not to. Now we'll see how this plays out. This is going to live forever on the internet. So if Russell Wilson turns out to be a bust in Pittsburgh, you think you're going to win the argument with me? No, you're still going to lose because they didn't pay for Russell Wilson. They just cut his ass and he's gone. And Pittsburgh doesn't lose anything. So I am shocked that 4 to 5 teams weren't clamoring all over Russell Wilson to get a great quarterback who still has the opportunity to be great. Tom Brady played till 43. Do we forget that? Russell Wilson played with Tom Brady for the majority of his career, and Tom Brady played till 43 and couldn't run and couldn't move, went to Tampa and won a Super Bowl, and people are balking on Russell Wilson. I'm shocked by that. So again, I am not a fan of Russell Wilson as a quarterback per se, but I'm a fan of what he's done in his life. He helps out children in pediatric cancer wards. It's pretty good. Raise your hand on this chat if you do that every Wednesday your entire life. He's a Walter Payton Man of the Year. No DUIs, no drugs, doesn't hit his wife, doesn't do anything wrong. And people are like, oh, he's not cool enough to be on our team. Holy shit. I've heard some of the stupidest people I've ever heard in my life debate why Russell Wilson isn't going to be a quarterback for their team. As you can tell, I'm pretty worked up on this. And look, Russell Wilson was for free. If someone says to you tomorrow, hey, man, go to the car dealership, but a nice one, Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, and go pick up a fucking car for free on the lot. Just drive it off. No, just pay for insurance and put in a free tank of gas and you can have that free car for a year. And you don't take it? It's exactly the analogy I would give for Russell Wilson. All right, let's move on to Kirk Cousins. Might be the nicest guy in NFL history, and that matters. Being a nice guy matters. I think I'm a good guy. I come off sometimes loud and gruff and crazy on the radio, but I try to live a good life. I don't live the life that Kirk Cousins lives. When Kirk Cousins lost the playoff game to the New York Giants, he checked down on 4th down. It was 4th down. Someone tell me in the chat. It was like 4th and 10, 4th and 9. And he checked down. He threw underneath and lost to the Giants and the game ended. I'll never forget. I got right on Twitter. Said, holy shit. I go, I can't believe he checked down. After the game, they were filming the documentary Quarterback with Patrick Mahomes, Marcus Mariota, and Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins left the game, drove home to his wife and kids, and read his kids' bedtime stories. Bedtime stories. I would have been at the bar drinking a bucket of Modelo's, crying my sorrows away. I would have been like, oh my God, I blew it for my team. We lost. We had the bye week. We lost at home. Kirk Cousins is a good dude, and he keeps getting rewarded. So as I have all this memorabilia here in my house, I remind people that every quarterback who's played in the league after Kirk Cousins should get a little gnome statue in their backyard of Kirk Cousins next to their pool, in their mansion in the backyard. And when someone comes over and says, what's that statue of Kirk Cousins doing here? That quarterback can say, if it wasn't for Kirk Cousins, I wouldn't be making blank. I wouldn't have a guaranteed contract. I wouldn't be making this type of money. Kirk Cousins is the Warren Buffett of the NFL. He's not the greatest player of all time. He's got an outside chance to make it to the Hall of Fame if he goes to Atlanta and wins a Super Bowl. And say he throws for 4,000 yards in 4 seasons, and you're able to add 16,000 yards with a Super Bowl, yeah, Kirk Cousins will go to the Hall of Fame. But as of now, he's not. But he's number 1 in the Hall of Fame of quarterbacks in NFL business. So why does he end up in Atlanta? Well, I think he ended up in Atlanta because Arthur Blank, the owner's in his 80s. He's been to a Super Bowl that he lost. Remember the 28-3 lead where Kyle Shanahan lost the 28-3 lead, and that game fell apart? That was a Super Bowl for Arthur Blank. He didn't get it. And Atlanta is a major media market, big new stadium, still nice and modern. And I think Arthur Blank looked at his overall team below him and said, look, I'm getting older. I want to win a Super Bowl. Go get me the best quarterback. And they bring in Kirk Cousins, and no one's going to bitch about it in Atlanta. Did you see the garbage that Atlanta had at quarterback for the last couple of years? Are you kidding me? So they're able to get Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins quickly leaves Minnesota and goes to Atlanta. I think that's a good signing. Really good signing. I wouldn't have paid all that money for him guaranteed because he's coming off an Achilles injury. If the guy was coming off a meniscus tear, or, he had a bum shoulder, non-throwing shoulder, all right. The guy had a meniscus tear. Does anybody realize he blew out his Achilles and he got rewarded with another $100+ million deal? So I hope he stays healthy. I hope he plays well. What do you think about Kirk Cousins here as I open up the chat and we take a look at this? Do you think he wins? You think he wins the Super Bowl? We're not talking about getting to the playoffs. We know he can do it. We know that Kirk Cousins, when he gets to the playoffs, doesn't win. We know that. Matt Ryan went to a Super Bowl. Do you think Kirk Cousins will surpass Matt Ryan in Atlanta? Normally, I'd give out the phone number, 888-623-3646. But how much better is this in a radio show? They got start and stop. We just keep going. I just need to take a breath and have a sip of my Modelo. All right, another quarterback. You know I'm a Baker Mayfield guy, right? Love me some Baker Mayfield. Raider Nation, I can't believe it. Look, I like Jimmy Garoppolo. I have nothing bad to say about Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy, everybody expected him to get hurt. Unfortunately, he got hurt. I thought Jimmy could have did some nice things with the Raiders, but imagine if the Raiders, who got beat by Baker Mayfield when he played for the LA Rams for a cup of coffee, imagine if the Raiders would have signed Baker Mayfield before he went to Tampa. I said it on the radio. Yeah, me. On Raiders radio, I said, go get Baker Mayfield. No one listened to me. No one. You think Josh McDaniels wanted to coach Baker Mayfield? No, he wanted to coach Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm good with that. It didn't work out. But now Baker Mayfield signed with Tampa Bay. They had the first right to negotiate it with him. And Baker Mayfield's now set for life. He has a Heisman Trophy. He was the number one pick in the draft. And he just secured another $100 million. Not $10 million. $100 million. So Baker Mayfield's good. Tampa Bay was able to go out there and get a really good quarterback who wasn't a good quarterback in a lot of people's minds, a year ago or 2 years ago. That's why I mentioned Jim Plunkett. I mentioned Russell Wilson. I mentioned Baker Mayfield. If you're able to go back and get a quarterback who's available all of a sudden, who you know is good, you got to go out there and get him. Now, Jacoby Brissett to New England. Another good guy in Jacoby Brissett. New England gets rid of Mac Jones. They don't have a quarterback. Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft should be ashamed that they had Tom Brady for decades, 19 years, won 6 Super Bowls, and they didn't have a plan in place. Mac Jones was the plan, but they didn't get Mac Jones any help. After Josh McDaniels left as a coordinator, they didn't have a coordinator or anybody who could help him. And Mac Jones is now a backup quarterback, and I think arguably the best backup quarterback in the league going forward is Mac Jones. I'll say that right now. But the Patriots don't have anybody ready to go now. So they end up going for who? Jacoby Brissett? 5 years ago, I liked that move. But the Patriots have the 3rd pick in the draft. And we're going to do a lot of these live streams for the draft. I don't want to go balls out on the draft tonight because I don't think we need to do that. We can talk about the quarterbacks a little bit here. But the reason the quarterbacks went, and today I worked with Rich Gannon. I took a day off of radio and I emceed a Chalk Talk with former MVP Rich Gannon. Let me tell you a quick story about Rich. Rich came to the Raiders in 1999. I came to the Raiders in 1998. I was there when Rich came, and I've never seen a guy work as hard as Rich since. Derek Carr worked really hard. Jerry Rice on a different level. But Rich Gannon was talking about work ethic and quarterbacks. And, Rich Gannon went from being a journeyman. He played for Kansas City with Marty Schottenheimer. Before that, the Vikings. He was hurt while he played for the Washington Redskins. So Rich Gannon comes to the Raiders in 1999 through 2004, 5 seasons. He goes to 4 Pro Bowls. He's a 2-time All-Pro. He's an MVP of the league, MVP, and he went out and got he got 2 Pro Bowl MVPs. At the time, that was important. Remember, now they play the Pro Bowl and they do tug of war in golf. When Rich Gannon played, they actually hit the quarterback or at least tried to have an effort. So anyway, I talked to Rich about what's going on, and Rich couldn't believe that in the last couple of years, the NFL has fired I think he said 4 years, 30 head coaches. 30, including Bill Belichick, who wasn't retained. Let that sink in, 30 coaches. That means the 30 head coaches lost their jobs, including some of their staff, their offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. It's been chaos around the NFL. And Rich went on to tell the point that when you draft players in the league, the number one responsibility is to pick them right. You got to do all your scouting due diligence, and then you got to develop them. And the NFL's got a really big problem right now because no one's developing. These coaches are getting fired because the owners have no patience. And the coaches are getting fired, and a lot of players aren't getting developed. And when Rich said that, a light bulb went off in my head, and I said, holy shit, I've never heard it explained that way. You fire this many coaches. What was it, 7 this year? 6 the year before, 7 the year before that. You got a lot of football players that just don't get developed. They lose their coordinator, their head coach, their mentor, and they're at the point of make or break in their career. So there's a lot of quarterbacks. 60 quarterbacks played last year and started games. Let that sink in. 60 quarterbacks. All I want to do is get a great quarterback and hold on to him. You get a Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. Trevor Lawrence is a great quarterback, but he's had his ups and downs. Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, even though those dirty, stinking green, drunk Philly fans are going to try to run him out of town, he's a good player. So developing the quarterback and getting a quarterback is really important. And Rich Gannon, today I felt like I was at church listening to a guy explain to me something that went right through me and made total contact. I couldn't believe the way he made it so simple and talked about firing coaches at the abundant level that we're doing it at. And then on top of that, not developing quarterbacks. Look at Mac Jones. Let me get back to him again. Mac Jones was fucking failed miserably by the Patriots. They drafted him. They gave him an opportunity, gave him a contract, and then they left him. They left him. Once Josh McDaniels left, Bill Belichick didn't give a shit about that. And I love Belichick. He's the greatest coach of all time. Greatest coach of all time. But they failed him. And how many other quarterbacks were failed because their coach has been fired? I don't know. You tell me. Maybe it happened to you. I mean, you think Dak Prescott? I think he's getting good coaching from Mike McCarthy. But there's a lot of other quarterbacks getting benched, getting fired. And now we got this draft coming up where I think there's going to be 6 picks coming up. 6 in the first round. 6 quarterbacks in the first round. Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, 3. They're in that bracket. Next 3, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, Bo Nix. That's 6. They're going to all go in the first round because someone at pick number 22 is going to panic, or someone in the second round is going to trade into the first round to get the final quarterback of the first round. So quarterbacks are really the big storyline for me, and I'm happy about that because Jason says Bruce Allen was the Rich Gannon guy. Rich won the job with effort. I just was texting with Bruce Allen right before. He's a mentor of mine. He got me that Buccaneers football behind me right there. That came from when Bruce was the general manager of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the league ended up, someone leaked 700,000 of Bruce Allen's emails, which I'm going to stop because that is in court with John Gruden, and I hope John Gruden wins his case. That's another podcast, and that's another live stream. All right, so let's go over what's going on with your team. Let me go quickly here, and we'll jump in, and we'll go through what every team did in free agency, and you can jump into the chat, and hopefully we can go over your team. All right, let's start in the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills. Is Buffalo's windows closed? Did they lose their shot at a Super Bowl? Who had more turnover than the Buffalo Bills in the last 48 hours? All the players that have come and gone, they had to restructure Josh Allen's contract. What they've done, I'm not going to go with who they lost with every team, but I'll do that with a few. Mitch Trubisky is now the backup. Deion Dawkins got a $60 million extension. That's a good move there. They lost Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is a hell of a wide receiver. We go to the Dolphins. The Dolphins lost Christian Wilkins to the Raiders. I think they lost the best defensive player other than Chris Jones. The best two defensive players, I believe, in the offseason were Chris Jones of Kansas City. He was retained by the Chiefs. And then Christian Wilkins of the Miami Dolphins is now a Raider. Raider Nation unite. It's a hell of a pick next to Mad Max Crosby. Love the kid. Loved him on Hard Knocks. The Raiders now have a fucking beast. They have a beast at defensive tackle who needs to be double-teamed while Max Crosby needs to be double-teamed. Malcolm Kuntz had a big year. Tyree Wilson better be good. He was the 7th pick overall. But you're going to now, side by side, have two great Pro Bowlers, maybe Defensive of the Year candidates in Vegas, but he left Miami. Robert Jones on the offensive line re-signed with the Dolphins. Shaq Barrett agreed to a 1-year contract. And also, they just got Jordan Poyer, who's a good safety. That was a nice pickup by Miami late to get Poyer, who's going to have a chip on his shoulder because he should have won a Super Bowl with the Buffalo Bills. But to Mike McDaniels and the Dolphins last year had a really good roster. Everybody got hurt. They got beaten Kansas City in the cold because everyone was hurt. Now they've lost some of their best players. See what the Dolphins do. The Patriots, Jacoby Brissett, a 3-year deal for running back Antonio Gibson. Small deal there. Kendrick Bourne re-signed at wide receiver. Hunter Henry at tight end. Now, they got some good players here, but they didn't do anything that blew me away. Overall. Kyle Duggar gets the transition tag. They don't have a quarterback. They have the 3rd pick overall. If I'm New England, I sit at 3. I don't trade out of that pick, and I take Drake May or Jaden Daniels. And then the Patriots win. Then they're good. They have their quarterback. Oh, what about the Jets? Jets, Jets, mess. They got Aaron Rodgers, man. They sold their soul to the man today who we found out could be the vice president of the United States of America if Robert Kennedy Jr. wins. That's no joke. Robert Kennedy Jr. hikes with Aaron Rodgers, works out with him, and could be a vice presidential candidate. You imagine if the Jets have to deal with that nightmare? You imagine if that's serious? Because it's going to be the craziest and stupidest election of our life times 10. And really Aaron Rodgers is involved. If you look at both sides, and I'm not going to get political here, with what we got going on and the insanity of this upcoming election, would I be shocked if Aaron Rodgers ran for vice president with Robert Kennedy Jr.? No. I'd probably be shocked because he needs to play quarterback. The Jets bring in Tyrod Taylor, $18 million for 2 years. Holy shit. I mean, it's not a Kirk Cousins deal, but Tyrod Taylor is making a lot of money. All right, so that's the AFC East. Did anybody win? No, Miami didn't get better. Buffalo clearly isn't better. The Jets haven't done much at all. And New England got the 3rd pick overall in the draft. Buffalo probably still wins that division. AFC North, Baltimore got Derrick Henry today. Nice pickup. 2-year, $16 million contract. Could make 20. Only $9 million guaranteed. Just go to Instagram or Twitter and watch his workouts. 2 days ago, he was doing incline push-ups with 45-pound plates on his back. I mean, the guy is a freak. The guy's not injured. The guy's going to be really good. So I truly believe Derrick Henry. I thought that Josh Jacobs, if the Raiders didn't retain him, he went to Green Bay, would have been perfect for Baltimore. And that's all they did. Oh, the other thing Baltimore did is Justin Matabuke. They re-signed him for $98 million. He's one of the best defensive linemen in football. That's a good pickup. Cleveland Browns, Jerry Jeudy comes over as the Broncos. They're rebuilding. Hey, did I remind you the Broncos are rebuilding? So when the idiots on national radio and TV every year tell you the Broncos are going to the Super Bowl, the Broncos are my pick. The Broncos are my pick. You know, did I tell you the Broncos are going to the AFC Championship? You know what I'm talking about? Anybody want to put in the chat what I'm talking about? The Broncos are going nowhere because they blew up their team for Russell Wilson and they haven't done anything. Nothing. Broncos look dead to me. Pittsburgh got Russell Wilson and oh my God, they got Patrick Queen. Raider Nation, I would have loved it. I see that James Farrell said Steelers got Queen. Man, that's someone I wanted in Vegas. I love that player. Patrick Queen to the Steelers. Dante Jackson from the Carolina Panthers. So in the last 24 hours, 48 hours, Russell Wilson, Patrick Queen, and cornerback Dante Johnson coming in. That'll become official tomorrow. Pittsburgh didn't do much because, hey man, they only paid $1.2 million. $1.2 million to get Russell Wilson. They could still go shopping. I think AFC South, I get everybody here. Oh, the Bengals. They didn't do much. T. Higgins got the franchise tag. He doesn't want to be there. They lose Joe Mixon. So that's it. And now I go to the AFC South. The Houston Texans, who got Joe Mixon, look pretty good. Dalton Schultz, Danico Autry. Wow. And then they just got Danielle Hunter. 2 years, $49 million. $48 million guaranteed. Holy shit. Houston, with what they did in the draft last year. C.J. Stroud, the edge rusher they already have. And now they add Danielle Hunter. Man, they're looking good. Holy cow, they're looking really good. The Houston Texans look unbelievable. They just added a force on our already good defense. The Colts, Michael Pittman Jr., 3 years, $70 million. That's their best offensive player. Jaguars get Mac Jones, Gabe Davis. Mitch Morse, 2 year, $10.5 million deal at center. Oh, they franchise tagged Josh Allen. I just got back from Jacksonville, St. Augustine. I was there for the last 5 days, golfing on a golf trip, saw my in-laws, talking to a lot of Jaguar fans. The Titans get Tony Pollard. I like Kenneth Murray, the linebacker who leads the Chargers. Shout out to Boomer Sooner. That's a good pickup. We go to the AFC West, the Denver Broncos, not much at all. I'm looking right here. Re-sign Will Lutz, the kicker. P.J. Locke, Brandon Jones. They've lost some good players. Denver's in trouble. Denver is rebuilding. Kansas City, Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed received the non-exclusive franchise tag. Well, worth up to about $20 million. Kansas City, everybody, is loaded. We needed Kansas City to lose Chris Jones or L'Jarius Sneed. We needed, did you hear me? Look in my eyes. We needed Kansas City to lose a player or two. They're not, because they want to three-peat. Andy Reid knows that. God, Kansas City, I thought they'd get purged. You win the Super Bowl, you lose some fucking players, right? You lose the Super Bowl, you lose some players. Why doesn't Kansas City lose players? What the hell is going on out there? Raider Nation, Gardner Minshew, 2 years, $25 million. Amir Abdullah, Andre James, good player at center. And Christian Wilkins, 4 years, $110 million. Love that deal up front. I know a lot of Raider fans are jumping in here asking me about Gardner Minshew. And I said in Twitter, calm the F down and wait for the draft. Gardner Minshew, the Raiders had to get a quarterback. Did you see all the quarterbacks that flew off the board yesterday? Jacoby Brissett, Jameis Winston, who I like a lot. There was no Kirk Cousins, too expensive. Baker Mayfield gone. What'd you want the Raiders to do? They got to get some competition for Aiden O'Connell. Gardner Minshew isn't bad. I was talking to Rich Gannon about him today. And listen, don't clip this and take this off my live stream. I'm not sitting here picking up Gardner Minshew at the airport telling you he's the answer. But that guy respects the team, and the team respects the hell out of him in the huddle. That guy comes into the huddle, everybody listens, and he'll tell a player to shut the hell up, and he'll get in their face. Gardner Minshew is a competitive player to compete with Aiden O'Connell, but I think the Raiders are going to get a quarterback in the first round of the draft. The Chargers got Gus Edwards, but they lost Austin Eckler. Hey, there's something brewing here with the Chargers that I just wanted to mention here quickly. Jim Harbaugh came in. You haven't heard a peep out of him. He don't like that roster, man. I'm telling you, Jim Harbaugh, didn't want to be the fucking coach of the Chargers and Dean Spanos. The job was available. That was not his dream job. The job was available. Sean Payton didn't want it the year before. Jim Harbaugh gets it. He's a hell of a coach. I got great things to say about him. He's a hell of a coach. But Jim Harbaugh can't keep Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. He can't keep Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. or Derwin James. So that Charger roster is going to get broken down. And I think what you're going to see with the Chargers quickly is Harbaugh is going to bring in some Michigan men, not J.J. McCarthy. He's got Justin Herbert, but he's going to look to bring in some young players via the draft and rebuild the team that way. So don't tell me any garbage about the Chargers going to the playoffs. Look at their roster. Chargers got a lot of work to do. They're a little bit above Denver, and Denver's imploded. NFC East, the Cowboys. Holy shit. They re-signed their long snapper in Trent Sieg, formerly of the Raiders. The Dallas Cowboys have done nothing. I mean, that's a live stream, isn't it? I picked the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl last year. I'll own it. I loved the Cowboys last year. I loved their roster. I thought they were built to win the Super Bowl. They were the 2 seed. Philly imploded late, and then they lost to Green Bay at home. I liked Dallas last year a lot. I loved their roster until Diggs got hurt. They had a good roster, offensive line and defensive line. They're a good team. Micah Parsons. And they choked last year. They choked. Can't believe it. Cowboys have done nothing. Peter Schrager made a good point. Day one, he said the Giants won day one. How? They lost Saquon Barkley. They went out and got Devin Singletary on a free agent contract. He's a good running back. Isaiah McKenzie signed a free agent deal at wide receiver. Jermaine Illuminor, who was played for the Raiders, and he played a lot of snaps as a good offensive lineman. John Runyon. But they made the blockbuster deal for Brian Burns, acquired from the Panthers. They gave up a second and a fifth-round pick, and the Giants redid his deal. $150 million, $76 million guaranteed. So the big blue wrecking crew has Kayvon Thibodeau on one side, Brian Burns rushing the passer. Giants' defense is going to be better. They lose Saquon, no doubt. That's a big loss for them, but that's a big deal for them. Eagles, they always do well. Landon Dickerson, 4-year, $84 million extension. That's arguably the best guard in the league. They went out and got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, 3-year deal, $33 million at cornerback. Saquon Barkley. So let's spend a minute on Saquon. Tiki Barber took a real low-class, cheap shot at him, saying he's dead to the Giants and all that. Saquon took the money because the Giants did him dirty. Giants wanted him to play on a shitty deal. And then Philadelphia and Howie Roseman said, this will be great. I'll go take their best player away from them. I'll have the most motivated player in the Eagles locker room, and they're all motivated. So Saquon Barkley made a good move by going to the Eagles. I despise the Eagles, but that's a big pickup for them. Now you got a guy who can catch the ball. Jalen Hurts can run. Saquon can run. Very similar to what we're going to see with Baltimore with Lamar Jackson and his ability to run. And they got Derrick Henry. Eagles are very active. They're very good. We started off talking about the Commanders, Marcus Mariota, Austin Eckler, Zach Ertz, Dorrance Armstrong, $45 million deal for an edge rusher. Cleve Farrell, the former number 4 pick overall. He's not a great Pro Bowler, but a nice pickup for them. I hope he does well. So that wraps up the NFC East. Let's get to the NFC North. The Bears, DeAndre Swift. That's a nice deal. They keep the running back that they wanted. Jalen Johnson re-signed, $76 million. That's a really good cornerback that they got there. And they have the number 1 pick and the number 9 pick in the draft. Caleb Williams a lock to go there. And at number 9, they can get a receiver like Rome Odunze. They can get a weapon for Caleb Williams. Detroit Lions, I like what they did. Got my buddy Amik Robertson today. Marcus Davenport, the edge rusher on a 1-year deal. Graham Glasgow, really good guard. $20 million extension. They kept one of their offensive linemen for Jared Goff. Good move. Green Bay Packers, Josh Jacobs. Oh, no. Oh, I didn't want to see Josh Jacobs leave the Raiders. Really good runner, physical guy, leader. But Josh didn't play well last year. Josh Jacobs held out, which he should have. He wasn't under contract. Didn't like the way they were dealing with the tag. I get it. And Josh Jacobs signs with the Green Bay Packers to connect with Rich Bisaccia again. It's really a 1-year deal with 3 1-year options. So Josh Jacobs took a little over $14 million, a signing bonus of 12.5, 14.8 year one, because that was more than he got from the Raiders. I wish the Raiders would have been able to come to terms with him. Xavier McKinney signed a 4-year deal at $68 million at safety. Nice pickup for Green Bay. Really nice pickup. Green Bay's got a couple of good players, and they got young players under contract. The Vikings, Sam Darnold. I'm all right with Sam Darnold. Look, you look at Sam Darnold, Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew, Jameis Winston. One of them's going to pop. That's a good organization with the Vikings. They'll be in the hunt there. Aaron Jones, $7 million deal after Green Bay unceremoniously dumped his ass. They did a lot of deals overall, a lot of quiet deals overall, and they re-signed a bunch of their players, a whole bunch of their players. NFC South, Kirk Cousins to the Falcons. Darnell Mooney, the wide receiver, $39 million deal, nice weapon in addition to all the weapons they have already. Right? Pitts at tight end. They got some good players. Great young running back. Atlanta's going to be good. Kirk Cousins is going to get them right into the playoffs. Carolina gets Robert Hunt, 5-year, $100 million deal. That's a nice deal. He's a good player on the front line. They're trying to rebuild and build up their offensive line. They have to. You got the quarterback that they got, and you got to get him some help. Damian Lewis, 4-year deal, $53 million. So as I'm looking here, they signed 2 guards for a total of $153 million. You don't think they're trying to send a message? They're trying to rebuild the organization through the offensive line. They got Deontay Johnson from the Steelers. They swapped 2024 7th-round picks there. New Orleans is in a tough spot, man. Every year they try to redo their deals and try to get cap friendly. They didn't do much other than re-signing Honey Badger. What'd they do? I mean, they didn't do much at all. Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield. Oh, I wanted to get to Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield, $100 million, $30 million fully guaranteed. Mike Evans, 2 years, $52 million, future Hall of Famer, and Levante David re-signed 1 year. That's a good player. I like what they're doing. Oh, and Antoine Winfield got the non-exclusive franchise tag, and he'll be back. NFC West, forget about the Cardinals. They're a mess. They didn't do much other than re-signing a couple of players. Dustin Jones on the defensive line, $30 million. The Rams, hey, look, the Rams don't care about anything really other than trades. They'll give up draft picks. They just want to be good every year. Demarcus Robinson re-signed. That's not a big deal. They didn't do much at all. They re-signed their cornerback. They've done a couple other deals here, but not much overall. 49ers, where is the 49er empire? Where are all those 49er podcasters? All those million 49er podcasters, man. They go crazy over the Niners every day. What'd they do? Well, they've lost a lot of players. Come on, Brandon Allen is back for a 1-year deal. Leonard Floyd, 2 years, $20 million. That's up to $24 million. Niners are trying to keep their players, man, and go back. They got 1 more year with this window. 1 more year with that defense that's only getting older but still very good. Seahawks, Noah Fant, Leonard Williams. I was surprised no one wanted to go get Leonard Williams. Christian Wilkins was better than Chris Jones, but Leonard Williams ends up staying there. All right, how about that? No co-host, no producer, no teleprompter. Got some notes here from NFL.com. We just went through every team out there. Let me catch up via the chat here. JT, you hear anything on potential replacements for Amik Robertson? No. From Raider O. They're going to draft another corner and maybe high. The Raiders got to make sure they could get something out of Jacorian Bennett. He's got to have a big year. I like what the Raiders have at corner. They got Jack Jones. Remember, Jack Jones came in and played really well. But they're going to need some depth there. Oh, my Knicks won. 106-79. Yeah, I love seeing that. And Niners gang, bang, bang, Niners gang. What is that all about, man? JT, how do we fix our own line from Raider Romeo? You got to get a right tackle. I would have hoped there was a right tackle already signed. I've been preaching that. I got it right at defensive tackle. They're running a promo on the radio here in Vegas. 2 weeks ago, I was screaming about getting Christian Wilkins. I was right. But I've been screaming more to get a right tackle. I think the Raiders, if they get a quarterback in the first round, trading up, we're staying at 13. I think their next pick, because they don't need a defensive tackle now, will be an offensive lineman, a right guard, or a right tackle. Another big topic quickly, my Knicks, Garrett Cole's hurt. Holy shit. And Aaron Judge getting an MRI. That could absolutely rock my world and ruin my summer if my Yankees got a bunch of guys that are hurt. I'm just throwing that out there for everybody. I can't handle that. Cranky Yankee is brewing. I cannot believe that Garrett Cole, Cy Young Award winner, Yankees aren't releasing his MRI yet. Yankees say Cole unlikely to pitch on opening day. Judge, latest injured Yankee, says MRI was clean. Here we go again with Judge. Ohtani can't pitch. Ohtani can't pitch. That means he's injured and he's going to hit, but he can't pitch. That means he's injured. And Judge has an abdominal issue, but reportedly that'll just heal, which sucks because he's a big guy. He's a Paul Bunyan. If something's wrong with his abdominals, he's not going to be able to swing the bat the way he needs to. They got to get him healthy. Tyron Smith from the Cowboys. Yeah, I like him. He's really getting up there in age. A great player. And I don't think the Raiders are going to want to jump out there and, go crazy. Super Omicron says, Talise Fugaga. Yeah, that's a good player. Is that the Oregon State offensive tackle or Joe Alt or a quarterback at 13? Joe Alt won't be there at 13. He'll be long gone by then. This comes from James Farrell. JT, should the Raiders draft a cornerback early in the draft or draft a running back out of Michigan? We're not drafting a running back early. They got Zamir White out of Georgia. They got a running back out of Georgia. Before that, they had Josh Allen out of Alabama. They got a Georgia running back in Zamir White. You don't need a running back. You can get a running back anywhere. They're not going to draft one high. Raiders need a right tackle, and the Raiders need a quarterback. And that's my priority this entire offseason as we continue on. That's good. People are asking who's still available. Thanks for reminding me on that. We're almost going an hour here, which is fine. My wife's out of town. My wife's driving my in-laws from St. Augustine, Florida to Illinois. So she's a warrior, and she's driving. I got my son here. He's here. And I got my other son who just went back after spring break to wrap up his junior year at Arizona State University. All right, best available, according to NFL.com. Tyron Smith, 33 years old, tackle from the Cowboys. He's due a massive raise after a return to elite form. He's still on the board. The only thing that concerns me about him is he's 33. Calvin Ridley, that deal should get done tomorrow. He was graded as the 7th overall player, period, not just wide receiver player coming out of Jaguars. They tried to feature him at number 1. He can make some plays. Kendall Fuller, the cornerback. So for those who are asking, Raider fans say, well, what about cornerback? Kendall Fuller, the cornerback, is pretty good. I think he's the type of player who can jump in. Marquise Brown, the wide receiver from Kansas City, and what he's been able to do. That's a pretty high ranking for him overall. I like Stephon Gilmore at 33. If Raider fans are saying, hey, man, what about cornerback? Stephon Gilmore, guy's been great his whole career. Great, not good. Can you get another year or two out of him? Chase Young played in the Super Bowl. I don't think he played hard all the time. Amik Armstead, the defensive lineman coming from the 49ers, trying to get you a cut. Oh, Jadeveon Clowney. How old do you think Jadeveon Clowney is? 31. That guy loves playing on one-year deals, man. I give him a lot of credit. Trent Brown, what a bum he is from the Patriots. He stole money here in Las Vegas. He was an absolute bum in Vegas. I wouldn't go near that guy with a 30-foot pole. Trent Brown, 31, quit on the Las Vegas Raiders. The hell with him. Calais Campbell, 38 years old. Connor Williams, an offensive lineman, still available. And, Devin White. That's the guy. Devin White, 26 years old, second team All-Pro when the Bucs won the Super Bowl. Really good linebacker. Really good. He missed some coverage assignments last year, one big one in the postseason. I'd go after him. Anybody who needs a linebacker by tomorrow, just go pay Devin White. He's only 26. I'd go get him. And Ryan Tannehill, Ryan Tannehill's a good backup. I mean, good backup's important. You got a good football team and your quarterback goes down and Ryan Tannehill comes in. Guy's made a lot of plays in this league. He can play. All right. That's about it. Anybody watch the Oscars? I'm a big movie guy. Came down to Oppenheimer and Poor Things. My best friend, best man in my wedding, my best friend in life said, Poor Things was a masterpiece. I said, wait, whoa, masterpiece. Raging Bull's a fucking masterpiece. Godfather 1 and 2. Platoon is JT the Brick in the third person's all-time favorite movie, Platoon. Had the biggest impact on me in a movie theater I've ever seen. But my buddy said Poor Things was a masterpiece in the movie theater. Do not watch it at home. I thought Oppenheimer was great. Cillian Murphy, best actor. Robert Downey Jr., best supporting actor. I love Killers of the Flower Moon. The 3-hour movie, I thought that was good. No comment on Jimmy Kimmel and the performance. Ryan Gosling singing with Wolfgang Van Halen and Slash. I went back and watched that Ken song. Go back and watch that. I did not see Barbie. I still have my man card. I did not see Barbie, but that came across pretty good too. Platoon over Full Metal Jacket. Yeah, for me. Yeah, I love Full Metal Jacket. Looney, my podcast partner, says I'm too into war movies. I love Saving Private Ryan. I just love anything that has to do. What's the name of that show that I'm watching right now? Masters of the Air or Commanders of the Air on Apple. I can't believe I'm having a mind melt, but I've been doing a lot of radio here. That on Apple? Oh my God, that's great. Really love that. Watch that on Apple. It's about all the flight bombers, Masters of the Air. Thanks, Lorenzo. I love that. That's really well done. I got one more left there. So I'm looking for something new to watch because I got to catch up on some of these Oscar movies. But movies been good. What else do we need to talk about? I mentioned the Yankees. Let me give you a quick NBA update on tonight. I mean, how much better is this in a radio show? You know, I love being on the radio. I love getting paid. Luckily, I've been paid a long time, so I'm good. But man, how much better is this than some shitty radio show that you don't know who the host is? I've gone an hour, no breaks, no stops, man. This is where we're going to live a couple of nights a week, man. This is a good place for us to be together here. Thunder Pacers, 108-102 Indiana in the fourth quarter. How does Greg Popovich still have a job at 14-51? And don't tell me Wembanyama. How the fuck does Bill Belichick not have a job and Greg Popovich does? No one can figure that out. No one at the highest level of government, no one at the highest level of sports can tell me how Greg Popovich can still keep his job. He's in the Hall of Fame. Belichick is too, and they fired Belichick or didn't retain him, and Greg Popovich still has this job. Celtics up big on the Jazz, and my Knicks beat the 76ers 106-79. Hold on. Let's check out my Knicks and the box score. How do we do here tonight? Let's see the Knicks. Ooh, who had some points here for my Knicks? Anunoby, 14. Brunson, 20. Hart, 20. DiVincenzo, 16 points. Let's go Knicks. And any other breaking news as we wrap this up? Yeah, who said this? James Farrell said Masters of the Air is a masterpiece. B-15 bombers. Can you believe those B-15 bombers went up early in the war without being escorted? And they were just getting blown out of the sky? These aviators, these American legends, these members of our military were going up on these death flights where they were getting shot out of the sky. We had other people, Jimmy Stewart, the legendary actor, Ted Williams. You had a lot of famous people who were in those bombers, man. What heroes they were. All right, let's find Ian Rappaport. Shout out to Ian Rappaport. I talk to him every year at the Super Bowl. He's fantastic. Ooh, 2 minutes ago, Raiders tight end Austin Hooper expected to sign with the Patriots. Austin Hooper. And then the big thing, the Texans deal for Danielle Hunter, which is 98% fully guaranteed, $29.5 million year one. That's a lot of money. So not much has happened since we've been here on the air, everybody, but I appreciate it. Appreciate you being here. So here's what we need to do. We got 71 people in here now, which I'm fine with. It's not Pat McAfee and, 18,000 people or whatever the number is, but we're starting something cool. I'm taking you inside my house, inside my world, what I do here with sports. I don't need any co-host. I don't need anybody. I just need you. I need you here to hit subscribe, hit like, and spread the word, man. If you like it this way, we're doing it every Tuesday night. I hope to do it every Thursday night. And then I'm just going to start to jump in here. My son, who's right here, is going to cut up some of the reels and we'll put some of the stuff out. Black Hawk Down, great movie. Great movie. Absolutely great movie. Lori says, JT, love everything about this. Appreciate you saying that. And JT, do not see autonomy of a fall. Okay, good to know. Good to know. That's it. Just got back from St. Augustine. 19 of my fraternity brothers from college, where I went to college at Geneseo State University. Oh, let me get this for you quick. This is where I won the President's Award from my college. And that was a big honor for me. So for those who don't know where I went to school, and it's not a big deal, Geneseo State University in upstate New York, I was able to connect with a bunch of my fraternity brothers and play golf. Played golf pretty well. I shoot in the 80s, mid 80s. Sometimes I try to flirt with the lower 80s, flirt with the 90s. Shot 89 twice on 2 good golf courses from the Blues. Problem was there was fucking water everywhere in Florida. I play in Vegas. There's a little bit of water on these golf courses. Every tee shot in Florida was water to the left, water to the right, water to get up to the green. I don't know how people are able to pay for golf balls in Florida. I'm serious. I mean, you got to go out and play golf in Florida if you play with 3 sleeves of balls. You got to bring 9 or 10 balls. I didn't lose a lot of balls, but a couple around at least. Man, wow, it was just crazy. JT, start the live stream when breaking news comes out. I agree. That's why we're trying to figure this out and set this up. I got my Yeti microphone. I got my Modelo. I got a couple of laptops here and an iPad here for breaking news here. And I appreciate that. Water and alligators. Yeah, I saw a lot of that in Florida. All right, everybody. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. Raider Nation Radio. By the way, I got a radio show every day, noon to 2. It's not all Raiders. I'm talking about sports. You can download it for free on the Raiders mobile app. You download that for free, and you're good. And then you can listen every day. That's 3 to 5 Eastern. I'm on Mad Dog Sports Radio Sundays and Mondays, and I fill in maybe another day a week when it happens. Real happy with that. And then we're going to do more of these YouTube live streams this offseason and have everything buttoned up. Oh, last thing I want to tell you, I'm really proud about this. This Thursday night, Max Crosby asked me to MC his first ever foundation gala, and they're going to honor Dana White. So the recipient of this first ever award goes to Dana White. So I'll be in the room with Mad Max and Dana White as the MC on Thursday night. So I won't be able to do this on Thursday, but I'll tell you about that. So that's it, everybody. Thanks for doing this. I'm going to take my son out for a quick dinner. Oh, last thing. What do you think of this daylight savings time? I'm in Nevada. I know you don't have that in Arizona, other spots. I could still see some things outside my window here. You got to figure out this whole thing on daylight savings time. My rule is pretty simple. More sun. Just fix it that we don't have to go dark at 5 o'clock at night. Time is it right now? It's 7:08 p.m. I can still see a little flicker of light outside my window. That's it. Thanks to my son, who's my executive producer on the live stream. I'll see you back next time. Please subscribe and share and hit like. And thanks for joining me.